Today I am taking you to the best movie of 90s. Movie name is Jumanji. A board game in which you get to play with very big animals, and the whole jungle seems to be standing in front of you. If you don't stop playing that board game, the animals will keep coming out of it. If you win, all those things will go back to normal. So let me take you to that game without making you wait. The beginning of the story is shown in a scene from 1869, where two children start burying that board game in the soil. They want this game to never fall into anyone's hands. With this, there is also a sound of the drum being played there. This board game starts with the sound of drums. Now the story goes 100 years ahead. That is the time of 1969 is shown to us, where a child, named Alan, is the only son of the Parrish family, who was very polite with being rich, but the children who were with him used to bully him a lot. Because of this, he runs away to his father's factory. His father had a shoe factory. There, his father also recognizes that today Alan is very upset. It is possible that those children are going to kill him again. Then his father says that you should face them bravely, like a man. Alan hears this and puts the shoe in his hand on the ramp. That shoe goes ahead and gets stuck in a machine, which spoils the machine. And his father was about to scold him that a friend of Alan, Carl, takes all this blame on himself, because of which he is also fired from the job. When Alan comes to face his father alone, he goes to the pit. But at the same time, he hears the sound of a drum on the construction site nearby. He starts digging the wall and a box comes out of it. When he opens the box, the same Jumanji game comes out. He brings the game home. But he had some issues with his parents. This royal family wanted Alan to study in a royal school. But Alan wanted to study in another school like a normal kid. His father wanted to force him to go to the parish school of the Parrish family. With this argument, Alan was very upset. He picks up the bag and tries to get out of the house. But then a friend of his stands in front of him, Sarah. Now Alan and Sarah are thinking of playing a game. Both the children hear the sound of the drum. Now, hearing the sound, they think of playing the same game. Both the children did not read the instructions properly, that if you are fond of playing with danger, then play this game, and if you leave this game in the middle, then it will never be good for you. This game was a cursed board game in Africa, which can kill you and you can get lost in the jungle for years. It is written on Alan's dice that now you have to stay in the jungle until you get 5 and 3 dice. After that, Alan goes into the board game. Sarah does not believe her eyes and the dice are suddenly dropped from her hand. As soon as the dice fall, Sarah's move is also played. And there are a lot of big sparks coming out of the chimney. Sarah starts running towards her house like crazy. And she tries to forget this shock for the last 26 years that in front of her eyes, Alan has disappeared in a board game. The story now takes us 26 years later, to the deserted house of the same royal parish. Two children have now come to live in that house, Judy and Peter. Nora auntie lives with them. The children were just walking around their big house when Peter heard those drums playing again. Along with this, he also feels that there is a glow in the house here. After checking the house, he does not feel anything like this. The next morning, his aunt tells him that should I drop you to school? Then the children say that no, we will go by school bus. After leaving Nora aunt's house, the children hear the same drum again. He starts attracting the children by keeping the Jumanji game at home. That the children should come and play that game. As soon as he reaches the children's storeroom, he sees that game there. Children think that this is just a board game, but they didn't know what could happen in the future. The first dice is put by Judy. As soon as she puts the dice, big mosquitoes come out of the game, who have such big dung that if they bite someone, the person dies there. Judy and Peter somehow get those mosquitoes out of the light. Now they think that this game is dangerous. It is possible that more of these animals will come. Then they start reading the instructions of the game. It was written in it that if you finish this game, then all these things will go back. That's why they start continuing the game. Now after Peter's trap, they meet the monkeys from the game, who had made a ruckus in their kitchen. Now the couple's move comes back. When she moves, a terrifying lion comes out of it, which stands in front of the children as soon as the blinker flashes. The children try to get down the stairs and run away. And in the meantime, Peter also makes his move. That's when the same traps come out of it, from which Alan went inside that board game. And now 26 years after that board game, Alan also comes out. Alan is now facing the lion and locks him back in the room. The children are very scared to see this form of Alan, that how this half-human came out of this game. As soon as Alan comes out, he first asks, "Who are you and how did you come here? Are you the children of my parents? Where are my parents?" And he enters the streets of the city in his tribal getup to find his parents. Then we are shown the same Carl, who used to make shoes in Alan's father's factory. Now he had become a police officer. You will definitely see this character somewhere in the story. Now Alan goes to his father's shoe factory to find his father. Then he sees that the factory is completely closed, no one lives there now. Then he meets a man there and he says that the owner of the factory had gone mad since his son had gone missing. He put all his property to find his child. Maybe someone has ever loved so much. Then Alan asks, "Do you know where my parents are?" After that, Alan finds out that his parents had died in 1991. And now he tells those two kids that he loved them very much. And he leaves those two kids and starts walking again. Then he finds out on the way that the big mosquitoes that came out of that game are now biting people in the city. Because of this, people are dying and reaching the hospital. Then they sit in a car to save their lives. But those mosquitoes also attack that car. Now all those people go back to their homes. Alan never shaved in the last 26 years, nor did he wear any good clothes. Alan comes out like a gentleman after wearing his good clothes and shaving. However, he still ate food like a tribal. Now both the children tell him that we will play this game again so that all these things stop. Then Alan warns him that you don't know anything about this thing. The children tell him that you are a coward, you are scared. Alan tells him that I am not a coward. I have seen such things in the jungle that you have never felt or imagined. In the darkness of the night, something will follow you about which it will take you all the time that they will eat you. I have faced these things for the past 26 years. I am not weak. Then Alan says that you both play this game. I will just watch you. Now, Judy, Peter and Alan sit down to play the game, but the dice do not move forward when the dice are rolled. Why? Because the fourth member was still missing. And that fourth member was Sarah, who started this game with Alan 26 years ago. Everyone thinks that Sarah may not be in this city anymore, or she must have left the city. Still, with one last hope, they all go to Sarah's house. There they see that Sarah has changed her name, appearance, everything. Because people thought she was crazy, so she changed her identity. Now when Alan stands in front of Sarah, and Sarah finds out that this is the same Alan who went to the board game and disappeared, meaning she was not crazy, she becomes unconscious. Now Alan picks her up and brings her back to his house. When Sarah comes to her senses, she starts behaving like a crazy person, that I was absolutely right, that board game had taken you. And I have spent the last 26 years only with the psychiatrist, to understand this philosophy, that it was just a game, nothing more than that, and your father killed you. After the explanation of Botchu and Alan, now Sarah also joins this game. On the next move, the board gives an instruction that you will get a house full of forests. And as soon as he sees it, the whole forest comes to his house. Everyone gets scared again and thinks that now we have to finish this game. If we don't finish this game, then all these things will finish us. Now the next move is played and a hunter comes out in the next move. And he came to hunt Alan. As soon as he sees Alan, he starts shooting bullets at him. Alan runs away from that house as soon as he sees him. But he comes back into the house through the other window. The kids ask him, "Who is he who is after you so much?" So Alan says that I have been running away from him for the past 26 years. He is just a part of the game and wants to kill me. Now the game starts again. On the next pass, the instruction comes that run or you will be killed. And from that game, big rivers, horses, elephants and zebras come out. And they were all going to crush these four, that all four of them save their lives and find a side place. Then a duck comes out of it, and he picks up the game and takes it with him. Alan knew that he would pick up the game and go to the riverbank. On the other hand, now that Hunter also reaches the shop to buy a new gun. Now, when he reaches the riverbank, he sees that Jumanji game reaches in the middle of the big waves of water. Peter bravely takes the game in his hands. And now everyone is ready to go back to their home. That's when they meet the policeman Carl. Now they were going to arrest Alan. That's when the hunter starts shooting at them. So Alan goes with the same policeman. And he tells the rest of the people to keep playing the game. The little boy decides to finish the game as soon as possible by throwing the dice hard. And he does the same. The game was very smart, and he understood such cleverness. Now for this reason, he gives a curse that starts changing inside a monkey. On the other hand, Alan tells Carl that he is Alan Parrish, that is, the boy who disappeared 26 years ago. Sarah and the two children are standing in the middle of the city. That's when the hunter comes and starts playing board games with them. There are big animals all around them. He gets stuck in the car, on which big animals start walking. And the hunter takes advantage of the same time and takes the board game. Everyone goes to a mall and everyone tries to take the board game from the hunter. But it was not so easy to trick the hunter. But the children were also very smart. They made a boat with big cylinders behind it. As soon as the hunter was about to come to the children, the hunter slipped and Judy pulled the cylinder tied with a dumbbell. The boat came flying and took the hunter with it. And now we reach there, Alan and the same policeman. The screw of the policeman's car was completely destroyed. There we see that the guardian of both the children, Nora Auntie, was also roaming on the streets. Then they come to know that big animals were roaming in the city. When he opened his eyes, he saw those big animals running in front of him. Now when the four go back to their home to continue the game, then Alan is told to debate once. After all, it was not the child's fault, he just wanted this game to end as soon as possible. Alan asks him, "Why did you do that?" He says that the problem is not about that, the problem is that I have a tail too. Now when they go inside their house, they see that the house is no longer a house, but that board game had turned that house into a jungle. Now the hanging is carried out again, and this time the instruction comes that you will be drenched in the rain of water. But the coming water was not raining like rain, it was raining like a flood in their house. And this water was raining only in the house of Alan Parrish. That water wasn't just water, there were animals in that water too. And there we see the fight of the crocodile. Now Alan puts both the children on the swing. Here Sarah and Alan both try to fight those crocodiles. That's when Nora Auntie and that policeman come and open their door. and all that water comes out of the house. And with that water, those crocodiles also come out. Now the four didn't want any new adventure, they just wanted the game to end as soon as possible. Now when they put the dice again to end the game, Alan gets instructions that this house will turn into sand. And as soon as he sees it, the land turns into sand and Alan goes into the same land. That's when Judy quickly picks up the dice and starts a new move. Then the ground stops turning into sand and Alan stops there and there. But the new move wasn't that easy. Now 8-legged animals come out in front of them, i.e. big spiders. Now those big spiders run to bite them one after the other. Now both the kids try to kill these spiders here and there. That's when a spider bit Judy too. Now to send these animals again, Sarah had to move. Sarah takes the dice in her mouth and puts the dice again. And this time the dice come to separate the earth, that is, an earthquake is going to come and this earth is going to be divided into two parts. As soon as the house starts to divide into two parts, Alan starts swinging around with a branch of a tree. But because of the two parts of the house, the game also falls into the same ground. Where the game falls, Alan also reaches there. Alan was about to kill that game, when he stands in front of him, that hunter. Now the hunter took a gun in his hand, and was about to blow Alan's head off. And he asks him, "Tell me what is your last wish?" Alan cleverly puts the dice back on the boat. After a long time of tossing the dice, he finally gets those numbers. There was 2 in 1 dice, there was 1 in 1 dice, which means number 3. And as soon as the number 3 comes, Alan's boat reaches right in the middle. And Alan wins that game. And he starts screaming loudly, "Mr. Juman, Mr. Juman." At the same time, the hunter also fires his bullet, but Jumanji's game is now over. All the things that came out of the board game, one by one, turn into air and go back to the board game. Alan realized that this life is very precious, and how much he loves his parents, and more than that his parents love him. Then he runs to his father and hugs him, because he realized that he had spent the last 26 years in the jungle, and after coming back to this world, he had not even found his parents. Now Elena and Sarah throw that game back in the water by tying it with stones. So that this game does not come in someone else's life. And neither should the animals of the world come back to this place. The story goes back to 26 years later. Now Elena and Sarah got married. And Sarah was about to give birth to a child. They organize a Christmas party at their house, where they call Judy and Peter's parents. As the kids said, they both work in marketing. So Judy and Peter's parents say that we are going on a trip. At that time, Alan and Sarah shout loudly that no, you don't go on that trip at all. Because they already knew that Judy and Peter's parents die on this trip. And now Alan and Sarah give them work in their company. However, these children will not remember anything because that time has gone back into the board game. The last scene of the story shows us that the game has come back to the surface and starts attracting people with the sounds of its same drum. And the story ends here. Thanks for watching.